Have you ever stopped to think about the physics of power? I'm not talking about a science lab, but about something hidden deep inside the grammar of an ancient language. Today, we're going to decode how a few specific Greek words in these old texts actually lay out a blueprint for how authority works. And trust me, it's way more structured and, frankly, cooler than you might think.
So, let's just start with this one big idea. What if grammar isn't just about dusty rules and where you're supposed to put the commas? What if, for these ancient writers, it was a literal blueprint for reality itself, like a set of instructions for how the world is actually built and how it can be changed? The key to unlocking this is a concept called a speech act. Think about it like this. When a judge in a courtroom says, "I now pronounce you married," they're not just describing something, right? Their words are actively creating a new reality. Well, for the writers we're looking at today, certain commands, when spoken by someone with the right authority, worked in exactly the same way. They didn't just suggest a change, they literally made it happen. And that brings us to our first deep dive, the story of a Roman centurion. Now, we always hear about his amazing faith, but here's what we usually miss. His faith wasn't just some abstract feeling. Oh no, it was built on a super practical, almost ruthless military understanding of how authority is structured.
See, for this guy, authority wasn't some philosophical idea to debate. It was his day job. He got it. He understood that when he gave an order, it wasn't his personal charm that made his soldiers move. Not at all. It was his position within a rigid command structure. His words had weight because he himself was under the authority of Rome.
So here's how his logic breaks down, step by step. First, he starts with what he knows inside and out. I am a man positioned under authority. Simple. Second, he knows that from that fixed position, his words make things happen. Soldiers move, things get done. And then he makes this brilliant leap. He thinks, okay, if my limited, delegated authority can move soldiers, then someone who's operating under ultimate authority must be able to move reality itself with just a word. And the grammar he uses to explain this, it is surgically precise. The Greek preposition is hypo, used with the accusative case. Now don't think of this like a reporting line on some corporate org chart. It's more like being a single gear locked into a specific place in a giant, powerful machine. It describes a fixed structural position beneath a higher command. His power comes from being perfectly placed within that system.
So here's the core insight, the big aha moment. The centurion sees his authority not as his own personal strength, but as recognized permission. It's not about his muscle, it's about his rank. His power is a direct result of his arranged, designated spot inside the huge machine of the Roman military.
And this is where it all just clicks into place for him. He contrasts his own power with what he's seeing in Jesus. His authority is delegated by Rome, it's local, and it moves people. But the authority he sees in Jesus seems to be inherent, it seems to just collapse distance, and it's powerful enough to command the very fabric of reality, like sickness itself. It's a whole different level. Okay, so let's take this whole idea of grammatical physics and apply it to another scene, the very moment Jesus calls his first disciples. Now, on the surface, it looks like a pretty simple story, but if we deconstruct the command word by word, the grammar reveals the actual mechanics of a life-changing event. So right out of the gate, the grammar just pulls you in. The writer uses what's called the historical present tense. So it's written as he says, not he said. And that's a very deliberate choice. It's designed to make a past event feel like it's unfolding right now in front of you, to make the call feel immediate and honestly still relevant today. The very first word of the call is doute. This is so important. It's not a casual, hey, you guys want to come over here? No way. It's an imperative. It's a royal summons. It carries the weight of a command that expects, that demands an immediate and decisive response. It's a call to drop whatever you're doing and move, now. The next phrase is opiso mou, which literally means after me. But this is about so much more than just walking in a line. It's a call for total alignment, a complete transfer of your priorities, your pace, your very allegiance to the one who is leading. It's like handing over the steering wheel of your entire life. And then we get this tiny, simple word, kai. It just means and. It seems so insignificant, right? But grammatically, it's the load-bearing hinge for the entire sentence. It creates this unbreakable link between the command to follow and the promise that's about to come. It's the if-then statement built right into the structure of the call. And what is that promise? It's poiezo, I will make. The grammar here is basically a sovereign guarantee. And notice who's doing the work. Jesus is the only agent doing the making. The disciples, they're the raw material being shaped. They're not the ones in charge of their own transformation.
This grammatical structure actually has a specific name. It's called a double accusative. I will make you into fishers. You see how that works? The structure itself forces you to read it in a specific way. Jesus is the one acting, and the disciples are the ones being directly acted upon. Their new identity isn't something they have to go out and achieve, it's something they are going to receive. It's a gift, and it's built right into the syntax of the sentence.
So when you put all of that together, you realize this is so much more than just a simple career change for a few fishermen. It's a grammatical blueprint for total transformation. It's about a transfer from one way of being, from one reality, into a completely new one. And we see this idea of a domain transfer pop up elsewhere too. Later on, Jesus leads up his disciples onto a mountain for the transfiguration. Well, the verb used there, anaferi, implies a lot more than just going for a hike. It signifies a deliberate crossing of a boundary, out of the ordinary everyday world and into a space where the rules of heaven are suddenly made visible. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Okay, that is a lot to pull from just a few ancient words. But here's the thing. These insights aren't just random guesses. They actually come from a really systematic way of decoding the text. It's a whole pipeline. You start with the raw text, then you analyze the roots of the words, you parse all the grammar and syntax, you detect common phrases or idioms, and only then, at the very end, do you frame it all theologically. The goal is to let the meaning emerge from the actual mechanics of the language, not the other way around. So, let's just boil this all down. What are the big takeaways here? 3 things. First, the call to follow isn't an invitation. It's an urgent, total, personal command. Second, the transformation that's promised isn't a self-improvement project. It's a guaranteed gift performed by Jesus. And third, the grammar isn't just decoration. It's the structural steel that gives these ideas their certainty. This kind of deep, granular analysis, it gives us this incredible certainty about the mechanics of what the text is saying. But it also leads to a much bigger question, right? Where does the blueprint end, and where does actually building with it begin? At what point does the certainty of grammar meet the uncertainty of, well, faith? And that really brings us to the final question, the one that brings the centurion's logic right into our own lives. What authority structure are you positioned under right now? And whether you realize it or not, how is that very position defining what's possible in your life? What is it empowering you to do? Something to think about.